Hi, I'm Sandra Oberlies.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Sandra Oberlies, and I am here with another lesson for computer repair. We are putting together our mini 3D printer. We have assembled the frame, and today we are going to install the Y-axis. That's going to be where our timing belts and our stepper motor goes. So for this one, we're going to need, of course, our printer. We're going to need one of our stepper motors, all right? And it's a motor. It's square, it's got a little bit of a rim here with a post sticking out, and it's got the connector for the wire. There are 4 holes with screws in them on the bottom, and there are 4 screw holes on the post side. The first thing we're going to do, this stepper motor is going to go in the back in this rounded cutout area. All right, and this is why we had to take the back plate off, because this is going to go here. We're going to have the connector pointing up, and we're going to kind of set it on here. And if you notice, there's 2 holes here and 1 here that kind of line up, and we're going to use those to go into our stepper motor. Now the thing is, it's got to go starting on this side all the way through, and it's got to reach into the stepper motor. And I've done some measurements, and we're going to need, if we try and go 20 might work, but I believe it'll be just barely reaching into the corner of the stepper motor and not quite long enough. I have ordered some 22 millimeter screws for those of you whose screw kits didn't have a 22. My screw kit has a size 25, which is a little bit too long. You're going to take this and you're going to set it on here and line it up with the holes. And again, you're probably going to want to take your screw. I'm going to use the 25s because my 22s haven't come in yet. And you're going to kind of on its side screw this in. Now this is very awkward because you've got the other leg right above where that screw is. So you can't just sit there and spin it all the way around because the head hits into the leg. So you kind of go in a little bit and then spin. Now, one of the problems I found when I was first doing this, the rod is going to go in here and it goes all the way across, and there is a little bit of a piece of plastic right kind of in there, so it keeps that rod from going all the way to the end. That little piece of plastic is the screw hole, and what I found is the screw won't actually go in if it's there. I just kind of popped it out. The screw is going to go all the way in through there. Now I've noticed that after I've done it a couple of times, it doesn't actually screw, it just kind of slides in through there. Most of the way, doesn't quite go all the way in, but that makes it a little bit easier. And then you're going to take your hex driver and you're going to screw it in so it sticks out at least part way. And again, it's kind of awkward, so you got to kind of put the hex head in there, spin it a little bit, and then move it back around, because you can't go all the way because it runs into the leg. And it took me a very long time to do this the first time I did it. Not quite as long this time because my screw holes are already prepared. Okay, I've got the screw back here sticking out part way from the edge there. I don't really need this rod, I just put that there as a demonstration. I'm going to take 2 more of my screws, and again, you should probably be using 22 millimeter. You can try 20 millimeter if you've got that in your kit. I'm not sure if that's going to be long enough. So you've got this one here, another one right there, and then the other one is going to be right here. And you're going to get all 3. The one over here is the easiest to get in there because there's less in the way. I think the one on the inside around the rod holder is the hardest to get in, but maybe not. It might be this one, depending on the shape of your fingers and how much space is in the middle. But you might have to struggle with this one a while to get the screw into the screw hole. And again, you're going to have to prep your holes to begin with. You might want to hold it steady with one hand while you screw with the other. And then you probably need to press kind of hard the first time so you can get those screw holes started. You might want to drill to make that hole a little bit wider so that it just slides in and out of this, and then it'll tighten down when it gets into the stepper motor. That is up to you. I didn't. I just kind of threaded it. Okay, once it got worked in part way, I was able to start screwing it with my finger. Depends on how tight your hole is. Again, the first couple of times you work through that, it's going to be really, really tough. It's sticking out just a tad. And now I'm going to do the 3rd screw. This one's a little bit easier because there's a little bit more clearance on either side, and I can actually get my fingers in here to manually screw it in with my fingers. Again, you're going to have to use the hex wrench when you first start to prep those holes. So now I've got it sticking out just a tad on either side. I'm going to take this stepper motor, I'm going to have it connector side up, and I'm going to line it up with these holes, and you're going to take your hex head and you're going to screw it in. I think this easiest one is to do this one that's out by itself first. So you can get that one in and it'll at least be on there. Once the screw head goes down a little bit farther, it'll fit underneath the other leg, so your wrench will fit under there. But that will screw in just enough because it's 25 millimeters, so there's a couple of millimeters sticking out. And I'm going to do the other two. And again, this one here, you got to go a little bit at a time, but it's a little bit easier since it's now solid on there from the one screw being tightened in. Okay, once you get the stepper motor attached with all three screws, again, mine, I don't know if you can see it, but those screws are sticking out just a little bit. So my screw, the 25 millimeter screws are too long. I'm worried that the 20 millimeter screws might not quite be long enough to fit all the way through and secure that stepper motor tight. All right, now once you've got that, we're ready to go with our timing belt areas. We've got two different timing belt gears. We've got one that's tall and one that's short. The one that's tall is going to fit on the stepper motor post right in through here with the wide area sticking in. This post will spin, so you need to get it so that it'll actually slide on. If you get it just right, it'll slide all the way down. Now we're not going to put it all the way down because it's got to line up with the one on the other side, so it's going to kind of stick out a little bit. Probably about like that, so that the post is just barely on there. There is a screw on there that you will use your hex head to tighten down, but we're not ready for that just yet. We need to keep it loose so that we can move it around. Next, you're going to need part 006. All right, this is the Y-axis tensioner, and it's got a spot for a nut hole on one of the arms. So you're going to get a nut, and you're going to need your pliers. Another thing I had to do with this is I had to file it down. When it printed, it kind of did the little elephant foot thing so that on the edges it had like a little bit wider. I think my bed was a little bit too hot when I was printing it, so the bottom layer was sticking out a little bit and it did not want to fit in this little square hole here. So what you want to do is you want to test it beforehand, all right? You might have to use an X-Acto knife and kind of file off or cut off, just kind of shave off all the way around the edges. I also took the metal file that's on my Leatherman and I filed it smooth. You can also use sandpaper, file it smooth. Make it so that you can put it, it's going to fit in here. We're also going to need to put another nut on the inside, but it's got to fit so that the nut side goes towards the inside of the printer and the other side, the screw side, is going to go on the outside so we can reach it. But it'll fit inside the legs like that. Let's see if I can let you see that. So it's got to fit in that little hole. So you're going to smooth this out, sand it, file it, whatever you need to do, so that it'll smoothly go in and out of that little square hole on the front. You're also going to put another nut on the inside here because that's going to hold the tensioner to the Y-axis frame there. You want to squeeze that nut in so it goes in tight. I'm doing it and it's popping in on one side and popping out on the other. So you want to get it smooth in there. If you need to widen the hole just a tad to make it stay in there, you can. Once you've got the two nuts on there, you're going to put it inside this little slot. You're also going to have to take this narrow gear and that's going to go in this hole. This one is going to use, I believe, a size 18. It might be a 16. Either one will work, but I'm going to try an 18 millimeter screw. You've got a 16, so a 16 should work. And you're going to start on this side and you're going to work the screw through, put the gear in there. And the gear has ball bearings in it so that it should spin freely once it's on your part. And it will go all the way through to the nut on the other side. You want to get it tight in there, but you don't want it so tight that it's going to break the arms off. And your gear has to spin freely on there, so you don't want to squeeze it down. It came flush with the other side of that nut, and this still spins on here, right? Then I'm going to put it so that the screw hole is accessible to the outside of the printer, so that if I have to adjust the tension, I can. I'm going to slide it into here, and then I'm going to take, I believe, an 18 or a 20. 16 is going to be too small, so you might want to use a size 20, and you're going to screw that from the outside into the nut on the other side of the Y-axis, holding on so it'll hold your tensioner to the frame. Okay, I now have this in with a size 20 millimeter screw. It is sticking out a little bit on the inside, and I have ordered some 18 millimeter screws for those of you who do not have 18 millimeters in your screw packs. Now, we've got a gear on one side, a gear on the other. We're going to be measuring our timing belt. Now, we're not going to cut it at this point. You should have a 1 meter length of timing belt. All right, so you're going to take that timing belt and you're going to kind of wind it around and just to measure. So you're going to see if it'll go all the way around, and it's got to go into both. You're going to kind of wind it around there and make sure that it will wind on both sides and that it lines up. So now I've got it wrapped around, and I've got it way too long right now, but can I pull? And it should allow you to pull on it, and it just rotates. So eventually you're going to go through, you're going to overlap just a little bit, but you're going to want to find out how much they are, because this belt is going to eventually need to be tight, and then we're going to tighten it down. We're not going to actually put it on until we're ready to attach the bed, and that timing belt will actually fit through this little slot on the bottom of the bed, so that the bed is going to ride back and forth on this timing belt. You want to make sure that the two timing belt gears are lined up. And then once you've got them lined up, and it's not going to be flush onto that post, but you need to have it tight enough on that post. You've got to have the screw holes so that the tightener part is on the post, but that the gear part is sticking out enough so it lines up with the other gear, and you can kind of pull it down a little bit. There are multiple screw holes on there. You want to tighten it down all the way around so that it doesn't fall off that post. And you've got it lined up where you need it. There's two holes. You're going to tighten down that thing so your gear is now attached, and if I pull on it, and I can roll it like this on the stepper motor, okay? And it will line up evenly with the gear on the other side. And eventually we're going to be putting on the timing belt, but we're going to do the X-axis first that goes side to side. All right, so that's our Y-axis for now, and I will see you in the next install part. Thank you.